Oh, okay. So, hi everyone, and welcome to today's virtual open event for the Drug Design and Clinical Drug Development Master Program. Thank you for joining us. My name is Juan, and I graduated from Clinical Drug Development half a year ago, and I'll be happy to guide today's session. This event is a chance for you to learn more about both programs, hear directly from the academic leader, and get a sense of what it's like to study a postgraduate degree at UCL. We hope you find it helpful as you explore your next step. I'm delighted to introduce our speaker, Professor Apis Chen. She is the program leader for the drug design program. And Dr. Joseph, he is the program leader for the clinical drug development program. We are also joined by the Iva, the current drug design student who will help to support the Q&A section later. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website of this event. We'll begin with the drug design presentation. Ibis, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Professor Edith Chen. I'm the program lead for MSc and MRes Drug Design. So I'm just going to give you a little presentation, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask me and Eva afterwards. She is a current MRes Drug Design student. So let me just set up my slide and share my screen. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my slides. People usually ask me about what is drug design, what does it involve? I mean, I'm going to try to show you a very simplistic view of really the ending of a drug design progress in a drug discovery company or a pharmaceutical company. But
Sorry, I think we cannot see the slides.
can you see the slides?
Oh, yep.
Okay, can you see it now?
Oh, yep. Yep, can see it right now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let me just set it up again, sorry. Okay, so like I say, the end product is usually okay. Oh, it's not working now. Okay. So the end product is always a drug being made and that can cure people. But in between, there are so many knowledge and things that we have to learn to get to this step. So a drug is a molecule like the one that I show on the screen, and you can see this big blob of green and yellow and red. They are actually a special representations of a protein and the thing that make us have different diseases. And a good drug, let's just say a small molecule drug, can inhibit these bad protein interactions and then cure our disease. Next, I want to show you a video. Sorry. So you can see now this is a protein, and there are many representations of this protein binding sites. And once we identify the binding site, a drug discovery or drug design effort can be made to do this. So in a sense, your journey to join the drug design program is to learn all these things that can enable you to put your foot into the drug discovery company. For example, I talked about the small molecules in the previous slides, but there are many different new therapies nowadays. For example, gene therapy, antibody, CRISPR-Cas9 vaccines, so many. And to enable us to visualize the binding site or what happened to the proteins in the experiment, you will also learn how to do structural biology, X-ray, cryo-EM. You will learn probably how to measure bioactivities because we need to understand how the drug behaves in our body, how good it is, how bad it is. Does it always go to the designated protein or tissues? Not to mention that computational drug design plays a major big role in drug discoveries because it enables us to do all the experiments on computer before we do our wet lab experiments. So we will teach you a big chunk of molecular modeling, visualizations, as well as teach you something about AI and Python, which is quite essential nowadays in any biomedical research. At the end of the day, we will also touch on how to select target. You know that in pharmaceutical company, if they select a wrong target, they might waste billions of dollars and then not fulfill a small molecule drug. So target selections and prioritization is very important in drug discovery too. And the last topics that we will cover is commercial and IP. So IP stands for intellectual property. So of course, if there is something already on market or if a lot of people are doing it, there is no commercial value for the drug. And therefore, it's probably not a good way to go forward. So like I say, besides the common knowledge that we will learn, special section is on antibody CRISPR-Cas9 that is about gene editing that you probably have seen a lot in news program. Small molecule drug design, molecular modeling, chemoinformatics. This might be a new terminology for you, but I think people are familiar with the term bioinformatics. So chemoinformatics is just about the informatics of the chemistry side. AI, machine learning, structural biology, X-ray, NNR, how to handle biological data, intellectual property. That is the basis of pharmaceutical industry. And then new technologies that you might not hear of, but is quite essential to support this. In terms of the organization of the program, mainly in our course, there are 3 terms or 3 semester, if you prefer that way. And from September to December, you will take 4 modules. And then in January to March, another 4. And then after April, you will dedicate your full time to do a research project. It can be wet labs or dry lab. So dry lab is those computation or informatic kind of project. Now, there will be exam after 2 modules. This is slightly different than traditional courses where you have all your exam at the end of the year. So literally you learn something and then we'll have the exam after the 2 modules. So we designed this course like this is because then by end of March, we will have all your top module finished. Then you will really dedicate yourself to doing your most important part of your work, which is the research. In the research, there's a small oral presentation as well as a thesis that will be one of the biggest piece of your work in your lifetime. Each top module is 50% coursework and 50% exam. And the coursework is very diverse. It's not just, it could be PowerPoint, essay, problem solving, and all the questions are really related to pharmaceutical solutions. So you will learn something there. People always ask me, oh, what kind of projects do you offer? In fact, our course is from the Division of Medicines, and we are one of the biggest division in UCL. So I think whatever you want to do, you will find a project there. But just to give you some flavor of what research, for example, you can do screening, biology, cell biology, or biochemistry kind of project, wet lab. Or if you're a chemist, you can do medicinal chemistry, making compounds. Or if you are a machine guy, then you can do computational chemoinformatics or bioinformatics that is related to drug discovery projects. And you can also work on structure and molecular biology. You can learn how to purify protein, make crystal, and realize them in X-ray or other technique. And also there will be like a project about like PK, admit, assay development. So there are plenty and plenty. So what is a typical life for drug design students? Our lectures are all expert teachings. They could be from UCL. A lot of them are from external speakers from pharma and biotech. If you want to know more, you can ask Eva about this afterwards. We have tutorial every week. This is slightly different than lecture. You will learn how to solve a particular problem or learn a particular software that can enable you to do further experiments. So, for example, you learn how to, in your future, if you want to do biological activity measurement, then we'll teach you, one of our software will teach you how to plot those data point and calculate the KI or the bioactivity. So all of this software is related and they are essential for you to work in the pharmaceutical environment. We also have other activities. We have individual and group collaborations. We have journal club, maybe 1 or 2 times per term. We run activity that can help you to do some pitching. Maybe somebody want to have big ideas and be entrepreneur in the futures, and many others like novel ideas generation. What about skill development, which is actually very important? Just because you know how to do things doesn't mean you can do it well. So in UCL, we are particularly pay a lot of attention in skills development. So for example, we have a interdisciplinary video project that you will collaborate with other students from other MSc and pitch a well health solutions. We have a lot of time that you can sharpen your presentation skills, training workshop, in-class practice, so everybody can practice how to speak in public. Writing skill, that is just very essential. Just because you have ChatGPT doesn't mean you can do it right. So you can practice your writing through workshops, coursework, thesis, and also at the end of the day, lab skill, how to communicate with your team member, how to actually do something in the lab, whether it's wet or dry. All on-site teaching. There's no online. You cannot join remotely. There will be some time online teaching. But it mainly is face-to-face. We are located in the Cruciform building, which is a 200 years old beautiful Victorian building. And there we have the hub where students can find space to do their work, and the library is also there. Wi-Fi, of course. We have very fully equipped research laboratories and so on. So just to show you some, so you asked me like, what do people do after graduate? So a lot of my students go to become PhD students, get PhD offer. There are so many places that they have gone, like Oxford, UCL, ICUK, the world, USA, things like that. And some of them can find jobs also in different kind of industry, like researcher. I just have a student got an offer in GSK. They can teach sales, marketing, anything. And I have, because this year is already is a long running course, one of my students actually is a CEO of a startup, another one VP in Bristol Myers. So you can make it. Publication, many. And if you want to know more details, you can go into our website, and I have some examples of what people do, publication, things like that. So these are actual pictures. I just want to show you. We have a lot of activities like doing software together. One of the picture that you see people holding a package of money because they pitch a company idea and it was really good, things like that. So it's not just about hard learning and working. You will also find friendship and collaborations in your journey too. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Now we'll move on to the clinical drug development presentation. So Joseph.
Can you see my slide?
I can see your screen, but I can't see the slides right now.
Oh, okay. Moment, I try to share. You see them?
Oh, yep.
Nope. You see them?
Yes. Yes, I can see that.
But I'm not seeing them myself.
You cannot see them yourself?
No, I can't. Let me see.
No worry. Take your time.
Yeah, after that. You can see them?
Yes, I can see them.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you very much for the introduction, Juan. And thank you for the participants who have, who are present today. I would like to give you, my name is Joseph, and I'll be talking about a clinical drug development program, or you just call it CDD. So first, I want to give you the overview of the program. So we offer two pathways, the MSc, and this is a more thought focused, lots of lectures, structured sessions, and practical learning. It's actually designed to fit for those aiming to build solid applied skills for roles in industry. And MRes, on the other hand, is much more research focused. Students work closely with supervisors, spend more time in the lab, developing independent projects, and also methodological expertise. The pathway is ideal for those thinking of pursuing a PhD direction. Now, in this slide, I just want to mention about the requirement. So basically, we aim to have students who have at least attained an upper second class or 2-1 in a UK bachelor's degree that is related to medicine, healthcare, or any other health-focused subject. So for the students who were not, for whose undergraduate was not in the UK, you don't have to worry. We also have an equivalent review for overseas qualification as well. So the key point is that students come in with a solid background in health-related area so that they can get most out of the program from day one. Now, here I'm basically going just to give a small overview of what the program looks at. And you can see on this slide, we're talking of key stages of the drug development pipeline. So basically, here is we start in terms of what we want our students to understand is to basically look at the pipeline. So in this pipeline, for example, you see the development, the earliest discovery work all the way to commercialization. So first we start with the discovery as shown here, where researchers identify potential drug targets and develop early models to understand the disease. And then next, as we go to the clinical study where animals are involved. And then we move to the clinical section development. Now, which in this case, it includes first clinical trials, and which, for example, phase 1 focuses on safety. Phase 2, as shown here, focuses or looks at effectiveness, and phase 3 here is all about targets in a much large patient group. Now, after successful trials, the data go to regulatory agency. Like, for example, in UK, we use MHRA now for review. And then once they review, then of course, as you can see here, they can authorize or give license for the drug to be used in people. And therefore, the idea here is to help you, as a student, to understand the journey that the drug takes, right from the initial idea until it reaches to the patient, and where different skills and roles within the program come into play. Now, on this slide, so the question is, who is this course designed for? So basically, our course is designed to attract a diverse group of learners. Many come from biomedical or life sciences backgrounds, while others join us as practicing healthcare or clinical professionals looking to expand their skills. We also see people from industry, pharma, biotech, and CROs who want to deepen their understanding of the development pipeline. And importantly, the course works well for anyone transitioning into drug development for the first time. Finally, this course provides a very strong foundation for those aiming for research careers in translation or regulatory science, and is also designed to support a broad range of backgrounds, as well as with a shared interest in drug development. Now, here, as you can see in this slide, the question is, why choose this program? So basically, first, when you choose this program, you get to access to cutting-edge biomedical research within one of UK leading medical research environments. That means you are learning alongside teams who are actively shaping the future of healthcare. And second, the program will give you clear practical insight into how drugs move from early disease modeling and target identification all the way to the clinical trials, intellectual property application, regulatory approvals. It's a great way to connect the science to the real world pathway through and a therapy and where a therapy must follow. And of course, finally, you will develop a strong set of transferable skills like clinical and medical research methods, statistical analysis, to develop to determine if you want to carry out clinical trials, what is the sample size, which methods to use to analyze the data after collection, how to design a study, and of course, communication, which is key. These skills are open opportunities across industry, academia, and of course, regulatory settings. In overall, the program is designed to give students both the scientific understanding and of course the practical tools to thrive in drug development. In addition, so of why you choose this program, You will be able to develop research projects that genuinely align with your own interests and any clinical or professional goals that you may have. It's, I would say, more personalized. In addition, it will also place you, I mean, in this course, we have a very strong emphasis on building connections through the program. There are plenty of opportunities that you as a student, you'll have to network with both academic researchers and industrial professionals. These interactions from experience often lead to collaborations, mentoring, and sometimes jobs or career pathways. Beyond the teaching, the program opens to meaningful relationships and hands-on research experience that really help shape the next steps in your career. Now, our next slide is after you have done the course. So then the question is, what next? So of course, in this case, we want to look at in terms of the career pathways that you can pursue after this program. So as you can see here, there are many roles that you can participate in. The clinical side, roles like trial coordinator, clinical research associate. You can also, for example, join regulatory affairs or drug safety as an option. These roles are all about protecting patients and guiding medicine safely to market, which is quite rewarding. And for those who love science or data, there are brilliant opportunities as research scientists in pharma, biotech, or CROs, as well as growing demand in clinical and health analysts. And there is also a translational medicine and research roles where you can get help to move discoveries from the lab into the treatment that changes people's lives. So there is a huge variety of pathways that is available for you when you partake in this course. Now, in this slide, so then the question is, what is the outcome, or in terms of the graduate outcome in previously? So as you can see here, for previous ones, we have had, of our students who taking this course, for 3% go straight into highly skilled jobs, which shows the program prepares students for real-world roles, and 57% proceed with further studies. And so whichever path they take, our graduates leave with a strong momentum. Now here is the slide talks about so where do our graduates go? So I've just given some of the examples. So for example, we have some of our graduates, they go to NHS Trust. Others, they go to pharmaceutical companies such as GSK. And others, they also go to the research, contract research organizations or CROs such as Charles River. And of course, academia. And for those ones who don't want to go to employment opportunities straight away, they also proceed with further studies for PhD. And these are some of the places where our students have gone, the previous ones. UCL, for example, Oxford, Purdue University, and many other institutions worldwide. And here, in this slide, I basically just want to talk about briefly the learning and the teaching of the course. As you can see, we use a blended teaching approach, which means you will get a mix of weekly lectures, interactive workshops, and plenty of hands-on lab and practical sessions. We also use problem-based learning, so you are not just hearing the theory, but you are actually applying it to real-world scenarios. In terms of the workload, you will expect around 17 hours of your time. in terms of teaching, and then you'll have roughly 19 hours to perform your independent research. So, do the study, like go to library and do things that are related to the course, but at least from an independent point of view. It's a busy program, as you can see, and it's structured in such a way to help you build both knowledge and practical skills. Now, one nice thing about this program is that the research video project, as Prophet Edith mentioned, it's a part of MSc or MRes research work, and gives the chance to communicate your science creatively through a short assessed video. It's worthy 5 credits of your dissertation module and helps you to develop a valuable skill, explaining complex ideas clearly and, of course, engagingly, as well as it helps to enable you to be, to participate in interactive, practical, and very much connected to real world clinical research. Now here is the assessment. How is the course assessed? So basically, we use a mix of different assessment methods because we want to test not just the student theoretical understanding, but also how they apply those the skills in practice. So you will get plenty of formative opportunities, such as you're given mock or peer feedback sessions and draft sessions. Now, this one here do not constitute to your grade, but they help you to know exactly how you're going. It's like a signpost, in terms of your preparation. Then, of course, we have the summative assessment, where it involves written exams, of course, the final video and research dissertation, as I mentioned previously. And here is in terms of where you are going to, what the study location. So, for example, of course, you'll be based in Bloomsbury, the main campus, as well as Royal Free. And of course, you'll have the opportunity to access at least over 100 principal investigators who are the leaders in their field. And here is it's about the funding. So sorry, it's about the fee. So basically, this slide gives you an overview of the fees and more importantly, the funding opportunities available to support your studies. For home students, the tuition fee is roughly around 18,000, and for overseas students, around 32,000. So what really encourages is that UCL offers a wide range of scholarships and bursaries that the students can apply. And this includes, the list is actually highlighted here. Now, if you are joining through the Division of Medicine, there is also a biomedical science bursary, which contributes about 5,000 towards tuition fees. And international students may be eligible for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship Schemes. So overall, there are several pathways to help make the course more financially accessible to you. And we always recommend exploring these options early, as some of them are quite competitive. Now here, in this slide, I think we talk about how to apply for the funding. So a quick way to show you how you can apply for this. So first, it's worth keeping in mind that the program is competitive. So you are always encouraged to submit your application material as early as you can. And if you're planning to apply for a scholarship, make sure that you check those earlier funding deadlines. They often come up sooner than the main application date. And for the personal statement, so of course, you have to, when you're making the application, then you have to also write the personal statement. Now, for the personal statement, make sure that there are a few key points that you must cover. Start with why you are interested in clinical drug development, specifically at UCL. Then talk about your academic and professional background and how your experiences have prepared you for this program. It's also helpful to explain how the course fits into your long-term career plans. And if you have future research interests or aspirations, this is the perfect place to highlight them. The aim is to give a clear picture of who you are and why you are motivated and how the program aligns with your ambitions. If you do this, then I can assure you that you will have a higher chance of getting the funding. Now, in terms of the final, so basically to bring everything together, here are the main things to focus on as your next step. So first, take a moment to check the end requirement and the funding options. It's always helpful to know exactly what you need and what support might be available. And then start thinking about your application and personal statement. This is really your chance to show who you are, why you're interested in the program, and how it fits into your future plans. And if you're keen to joining us, then make sure that you apply early. It gives you a smooth experience and increases your chance of being selected, especially for funding. And if for anything you are unsure about, for example, deadlines, processes, funding details, please just check in the UCL website. It's the most up-to-date resource for everything. And of course, you can also seek advice from me and the admission. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer questions if you have them.
Okay, so thank you, Edith and Joseph, for those really informative presentation. So we'll now move on to the Q&A section. Please add your question to the Q&A box, whether they are about the program themselves or about the student life at UCL. Eva and I will read them out and we'll answer them as many as we can. So we'll give a couple of minutes to let people to write their question down on Q&A box. And I will talk about my experience at UCL during this time. Actually, for the MRes clinical drug development program, it has 4 exams, and I'm gonna lie. Revising the size is quite stressful, but there are some courses are quite interesting, like the drinking experiment from from the pharmacology. Basically, we just observed classmate behavior, like the heart rate and the memory of the drink, which is pretty fun. And besides, living in London is also quite good. We can find a lot of interesting things here. And UCL is located in the center of London, so everything is quite convenient. Okay, can see a few questions on Q&A box. Oh, is Eva want to share your experience as a student of drug design?
So I'm an MRes student in drug design, and I was able to choose 5 modules for those who are curious. 5 modules out of 8 modules. So this is also difference between MSc and MRes. And this means that you have to focus more on your project, and this is the advantage of an MRes if you're more of a project person. And I also know people who like exams and coursework more, so they're in an MSc. And yeah, so I preferred the project side, and it is very nice that you have the offer to focus on a research project and go into this. And yes, it is a very nice experience, but you still have lectures together with the MSc students, so MScs and MRes students are together, which is really nice because you meet lots of people and from very different backgrounds. It's very nice that you meet so many different people.
Okay, so I can see a few questions on Q&A box. The first question is, would the MRes in CDD be suitable for BSc pharmacology graduate, or would it be quite similar? I think it's quite suitable because I got a lot of classmates who graduate from pharmacology, but there are still some new things to learn, like the drug discovery, and the multiomic and the stats. Yeah, I think it's quite suitable for it. The second question is the research proposal section of the application for the MRes in CDD recommended? What if you don't have a proposal? Should we contact the potential supervisor? I think actually for me, I didn't write any research proposal when I applied, and it's totally fine if you don't have a proposal if you want to apply. Should we contact the potential?
Can I add a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we have like as a student, we have a we have ready-made titles that you can select from. And basically, what we do is we provide a list of the research titles, and the students have the opportunity to select at least 4 of them, and then they have to indicate their preference. Also, the students, if they are not interested to follow the project that we have listed, and if, for example, like through their own independent initiatives, they can also, proactively seek a project not within the UCL, but outside UCL. And I think what happens is I have to negotiate with wherever they want to partake their research. And then once we agree, then of course, then we will adopt that one as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so the third question is also for the clinical drug development. Are there any scholarship available for the home student? Yes, I think we have a link on the chat box we can see here. Yeah. Okay, so next question is a question for Joseph.
Yeah, which one?
Please, can I ask what kind of PhD project have graduate of the research degree go on to do? Thanks.
So basically, I think what happens when it's once you do the CTD, it basically opens you up for most of the biological degree courses that you can. So for example, like some students have gone in to do cancer in terms of their PhD. Some students have gone in to do simulations in biology. There are quite a variety that they have gone to do. So
Okay.
like others, they go to do stem cell work, and of course, therapeutic discovery as well.
Okay. Okay, next question. Is a professional pharmacist qualification required to apply for the clinical pharmacy, international practice, and policy program, or is a bachelor degree in pharmacy sufficient? Oh, sorry, I didn't know this. Is there any?
So is the questioner wanting to, in terms of as a qualification, or in terms of wanting to work for the pharmacy? Because if it's for qualification, if you have a bachelor's degree in pharmacy, it's sufficient. If you also have like a clinical pharmacy that you've done for professional, yeah, it's also required. So it's not required, but it's also can also suffice as a qualification. So especially for the mature students or
Okay.
who want to upgrade their knowledge in CDD.
Okay. So next question is, what are the main difference between MRes drug design and MRes clinical drug development? Okay, I think it's better for,
Eddie,
program
I think can
leader.
answer that.
Yes, sure. The focus are slightly different. So the drug design program, the focus is preclinical research. So for both MRes degree, you will take 5 module or whatever credit that is from each program. So the background knowledge you accumulate will be slightly different. Otherwise, the structure is very similar. Joseph, you want to amend to this?
Yes, I can also add. So basically, what happens is that the 2 degree courses are quite complementary in the sense that they are all focused on medicinal compounds. So one will tell you the design of the drug compound, that is the drug design and how it's developed. The other one is actually once you have the drug development, will also advise you exactly from, like the way I showed the pipeline. So like, okay, you have the drugs and then you have to do the clinical trial. Then once you have done the clinical trial, so then you'll have to apply, for example, for a patent protection, or sometimes you already have it before you do the clinical trial. Then you also need, and then once you have done the phase 1, phase 2, and 3 trials, so you'll have to submit it for regulatory approval, like FDA in America, MHR in UK, and then it's approved so that it can be used for in people. And then of course there is a follow-up process, pharmacovigilance, just in case there was an adverse reaction that was not detected from phase 3 clinical trial, but can now be detected from a wider population of that are in use. So you actually get a rich knowledge of, all the processes that are involved in the drug development, right from design all the way to a final product that is used in man.
Okay. Okay, so next question is how might the MSc drug design be different from the MSc drug discovery course at UCL? Is the MSc clinical drug development course mainly related to the clinical trial section of the drug development process? Thanks.
I guess this question was answered previously. I mean, the course content are not the same.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the clinical drug development, there is a course which is quite relevant with the clinical trials. That is clinical pharmacology. We have 2 courses. And the rest of it, we just have the multi-omic and the stats. These 2 courses are not relevant to the clinical trials. Okay, so next question. Would MRes or MSc be more suitable for a biomedical science graduate looking at a future in farm?
I can answer this a little bit. From a lot of my MRes students told me that they prefer to do MRes because they want to do a larger research, and they think that that will make them more employable. But this is not true. In my experience of so many years, both MRes and MSc students will get PhD offers and jobs. Like the one I told you that who just got a GSK offer she was a MSc student. I think is you have get your knowledge or your experience. It still depends on your initiative, your motivation to apply for jobs, to apply for PhD. So it is we give you all the backgrounds and the essentials to package your CV and your person, but the last step, you still need to do it yourselves. So I wouldn't say that what is better than the other. I have no statistics to support them, but it is really what you are. And if you join us at UCL, we could sort of give you the essentials to become a successful person.
Maybe I can just add on. I think what Prophet Edith has said is perfectly correct. From my experience, all the MRes students and the MSc students, they get jobs in the pharma. They get. I think what is the difference is the emphasis. For the MRes is you do more time in research as opposed to the MSc. That's the only difference. But otherwise, at the end of the day, you'll all get, you can go for the employers don't really discriminate. It will depend what they are looking for. For example, like if they are looking for someone, with more research, probably they may, but I think it's just a minor. It's essentially what you as a person, you want to pursue. For example, like if even when you look at the MSc and MRes, when it comes to PhD, they all also get admitted. There's no discrimination.
Okay, so next question is, how is also for the clinical drug development. How long is the research project? Normally it's just 6 months. For the MSc, it's 3 months.
Yes.
Next question is also from clinical drug development. Can the research project be a mix of clinical and lab work? I think it depends on which supervisor you choose. I mean, for me, I didn't do any clinical work. I just do the lab work. But it really depends which supervisor you choose. Yes. And oh, I think there is another information for the last question. Is for the qualification international students. I mean, for the pharmacy question, I think.
I think I will answer yes. If you have done either UK qualification or international qualification, you will still be admitted. So I think what we do, we have the criteria. We know how to evaluate the international standard. We also know how to do for the local standard. So either it's still fine.
Okay, so the last question is also from clinical drug development. Is the MRes in clinical drug development a good course if you want to get into the clinical trial methodology? I think yes, because we learn quite a lot of information from the clinical pharmacology. Yes. So is there anything guys want to add or? No? Okay. So that's all the question.
So we're coming to an end of a session now, and we'll need to wrap it up here. So thank you for all your questions, and a big thank you to Edith and Joseph for the excellent presentations, and we hope you found the session useful. So have a great afternoon, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, and bye.
Bye bye.